Hiccup led Astrid and Snotlout on a search party for Bucket and Mulch, who had been missing for 2 days. They were tired and cold, but Hiccup was determined to find the fishermen. Finally, they spotted the lost fishing boat next to an iceberg. A berserker ship led by Captain Vorg approached and prepared to attack. Hiccup on Toothless, Astrid on Stormfly, and Snotlout on Hookfang dove to the rescue and forced the berserkers to retreat. Bucket and Mulch showed the kids what the berserkers were after. A huge dragon that was frozen inside the iceberg. Hiccup had a bad feeling about what the berserkers were up to. They placed the massive dragon-filled iceberg inside a fishing net on the deck of the boat. Toothless, Stormfly, and Hookfang lifted the net and used it to tow the boat back to Berk. Later at the Dragon Academy, Fishleg's dragon Meatlug coughed up a stream of lava near the iceberg. The heat melted away a layer of ice, and the dragon riders were able to get a better look at the frozen beast. Hiccup and Fishleg suspected that the dragon was a Skrill, a legendary dragon that could harness the power of lightning. Fishlegs excitedly ran to fetch the Book of Dragons to confirm their theory. At the Great Hall, Hiccup's father Stoic addressed a group of angry Berkians who were outraged by the berserker attack and demanded revenge. Stoic urged patience, but the crowd was ready to battle the berserkers. Just then, Hiccup arrived and held up the Book of Dragons. The crowd fell silent as he explained that the frozen dragon was a Skrill. Meanwhile, on Berserker Beach, Dagger the Deranged stood before a mob of berserkers. Above him flapped a sail emblazoned with the image of a Skrill, the symbol of the berserkers. Dagger proclaimed that after centuries of searching for the Skrill, the dragon was finally within the berserkers' reach. He promised to capture the Skrill and use its power to destroy Berk and the Dragon Riders. Back at Berk, Fishlegs explained that Skrills could survive for decades while frozen. Stoic's mood darkened when he realized the dragon could still be alive. He recalled stories his father once told him of berserker ships being led by lightning-wielding dragons. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion echoed from the Dragon Academy. Snotlout, Roughnut, and Toughnut had tried to melt another layer of ice, but they used too much heat. The furious Skrill awoke and blasted free of the iceberg. As a storm approached, Hiccup led the Dragon Riders high into the sky to find the escaped Skrill. The dragon hid inside a roiling storm cloud. Astrid held the others back as Hiccup and Toothless approached the frightened dragon. The Skrill reared back and launched a lightning bolt. Luckily, Toothless barrel rolled out of the way just in the nick of time. Quickly, Hiccup formulated a new plan. He knew from the Book of Dragons that Skrills lost their power when in water, so he directed the others to drive it down into the sea. One by one, the Dragon Riders bore down on the Skrill and forced it to fly lower and lower toward the surface of the ocean. Just then, flaming arrows bombarded them from 5 berserker ships below. Toothless fired plasma blasts, which disintegrated the berserkers' arrows before they could do any damage. Then, the kids soared upward to regroup, out of range of Dagger's barrage. Hiccup asked Astrid to distract the Berserker ships with Snotlout and Fishlegs while he searched for the Skrill with the twins. Astrid took charge and dove after Dagger's ships with Snotlout and Fishlegs close behind. As the others battled the Berserker ships, Hiccup, Roughnut, and Toughnut surrounded the Skrill's storm cloud. The twins circled on their zippleback, Barf and Belch. Barf spewed a trail of flammable gas behind them. Hiccup gave the command and Belch burped a fireball. The gas trail ignited in a massive explosion. The Skrill darted out of the cloud to escape. Hiccup waited for the right moment and then rode Toothless at an angle to cut off the dragon. Toothless fired a low-strength plasma blast to try to slow it down. At the last second, the Skrill turned and fired a lightning bolt, deflecting the plasma blast. The electrically charged dragon turned and chased after Hiccup and Toothless. Toothless used evasive maneuvers to dodge a flurry of lightning bolts from the Skrill. Below, Dagger watched the chase taking place in the skies above him. Captain Vorg sheepishly asked if the Berserkers should retreat and come back for the Skrill some other time. Disgusted, Dagger pushed Captain Vorg overboard and demanded that the Berserkers press on. Meanwhile, the twins shot fireballs at the Skrill to help Hiccup and Toothless, but Barf ran out of gas. The Skrill angrily blasted a bolt in their direction. Toothless fired a plasma blast that met the lightning and exploded, sending the dragons and riders spinning through the air. Hiccup and Toothless fell onto Dagger's ship, but flew away before the Berserkers could react. They flew to meet the other dragon riders. Astrid, Snotlout, and Fishlegs were safe, but Roughnut and Toughnut were missing. The twins had watched in surprise as Alvin the Treacherous came out of hiding to fish the injured Skrill out of the water and onto his ship. They decided to follow the outcasts back to their island to find out what they wanted with the Skrill. At the Outcast Arena, several outcasts wrangled the Skrill into a holding pen. The dragon fired several lightning blasts as it struggled to free itself, but the outcasts overpowered it into a cage. Overhead, Hiccup realized that the twins probably followed the Skrill. He sent the others back to Berk to rest, and then rode Toothless into enemy territory to search for any sign of his friends. Back at Berk, Astrid and the other dragon riders told Stoic that Hiccup and Toothless were still searching for the twins and the missing Skrill. She became worried when Stoic mentioned that the metal in Hiccup's leg and in Toothless's tail was very dangerous because it could attract a lightning strike. Luckily, Hiccup and Toothless had landed on Outcast Island to wait out the storm. They crawled to the edge of a cliff above the Outcast Arena. Hiccup was observing the outcasts below with his spyglass when Roughnut and Toughnut suddenly popped up beside him. The twins were okay! Hiccup was overjoyed to see Roughnut and Toughnut again. The three friends crept closer to the edge to find out what the outcasts were up to. There was a large fleet of ships docked in the harbor. Hiccup knew the outcasts planned to use them to attack Berk. To Hiccup's great surprise, Dagger the Deranged entered and shook hands with Alvin the Treacherous. The Berserkers and outcasts were in cahoots, which spelled trouble for Berk. Hiccup flew Toothless quietly down to the outcast arena. They hurried to the holding pen. The Skrill was missing! More outcast guards arrived in a flash. Hiccup and Toothless took off before they were caught. but the alarms were sounded. They had to find the Skrill quickly. During the ensuing commotion, Alvin noticed Dagger's ship slowly sailing away. Enraged that he had been double-crossed, he fetched his battle axe and leapt onto the boat. Alvin lunged at Dagger, who deflected the axe blow with his sword. The two villains exchanged strikes until Dagger reached the mast of his ship and revealed the Skrill. Dagger pulled the dragon's reins and it unleashed a lightning bolt at Alvin. The outcast leader jumped overboard to escape. Dagger gave the other outcasts a one-time offer: join the Berserkers or face the Skrill. The normally brave warriors took one look at the dragon and instantly joined the Berserkers. Circling high above on Toothless, Hiccup knew he could use Dagger's pride against him. He flew Toothless down and landed on Dagger's ship. Hiccup challenged Dagger to a one-on-one fight. Dagger took the bait and detached the Skrill from his ship. He harnessed the dragon like a kite and flew it high into the storm clouds. Hiccup maneuvered on Toothless as they exchanged fire with the Skrill. He tried to lead Dagger towards the edge of a pond. Hiccup watched carefully as Dagger slowly stepped toward the water's edge. When Dagger finally stepped in the water, Toothless fired a plasma blast. The Skrill blocked it with an electric shield which shot down the harness and electrocuted Dagger. The Skrill then turned its attention to Hiccup and Toothless. It fired lightning bolt after lightning bolt as Toothless dodged and darted, narrowly escaping the blasts. Meanwhile, Tough Nut and Rough Nut flew on their Zippleback to find Hiccup and Toothless. Hiccup and Toothless led the Skrill toward a glacier as they dodged its constant barrage of lightning bolts. They flew straight into an icy crevasse with the Skrill in hot pursuit. Hiccup pulled Toothless up sharply, escaping through a narrow passage. Just then, Rough Nut and Tough Nut arrived. Belch ignited Barf's gas with a fire burp, causing an explosion that collapsed the glacier onto the Skrill. The dangerous dragon was once again frozen in ice, safely out of Dagger's clutches. Hiccup and the twins flew back to Berk to reunite with their friends and family. Berk was safe for now, but they knew it was only a matter of time before Dagger and Alvin plotted to strike again. Luckily for Berk, Hiccup, Toothless, and the other dragon riders would always be there to defend their island home.